we welcome you to In the Circle Live, our post-game show. Oklahoma has completed what a lot of people thought what they were going to do, and they are the now back-to-back national champions. I'm Victor Anderson. Eric Lopez is probably figuring out what that Texas coach was yelling about, as is my guest at this time, ACC Network analyst Brittany McKinney. Brittany, thank you so much for joining us. And you were on your phone trying to figure out, kind of like the rest of us, what the coach was yelling about or who he was yelling at after Oklahoma picked up that final out. Have you heard anything about that as of yet?
No, I'm still reaching out to people that are in Oklahoma City, and it was pretty dramatic the way he was having to be held back there after the game. And I don't know why he's doing it or what happened, what was said, what actions happened. But I don't really care for that so much after the game, to see that when they had to take a camera away from the Oklahoma celebration or take away from the seniors, to see him being held back.
Yeah.
I don't like that one bit.
Yeah, it kind of tarnishes what happened and what turned out to be a coronation, which was slightly delayed by Texas making a late push, as we all knew they would. But as we expected, Oklahoma takes care of business. They knock off Texas. They get the sweep. They go back-to-back national champions. Your initial thoughts on just the game tonight? Because for a while, Texas and Check held their own versus Oklahoma, got the lead, but then they gave up the 2 errors. And we talked about this in our pregame show today. If you give Oklahoma any extra outs, they always make you pay, and true to form, they did again.
And they did. That's what happened. But I want to give some credit to Estelle Check. She did a phenomenal job. I think she pitched well enough to give her team a chance to stay in the ball game at least. She had that backdoor curve, the lefty coming at the righties. The backdoor curve was just tipping that outside corner. And they had trouble, picking up on that and making her pay for it. And she did a great job keeping the ball out of the heart of the zone. But then, I want to go back to, what was it, the 4th inning, I believe, that ball down the right field line.
Yeah.
It was a foul ball. Let me see. And the right fielder didn't make the play. And I felt like that play should have been made. And there was 2 outs after getting Alo and Jennings out to start the inning, and Brito's up to bat. You make that play, you're out of the inning. Then next thing you know, Brito gets one extra pitch, double, then you start the rally with 2 outs. And it's not just giving Oklahoma 1 out or giving them 8 extra bases. That will never show up in the scorebook. You give them 1 pitch and they take advantage of it.
Yeah, definitely. And if kind of think about it now, that bottom of the first, where Texas scores those 2 runs and Jada Coleman robs that 3-run home run in center field, we're looking at a completely different game if it's 5-0 as opposed to 2-0. There it is. There's my partner in crime, Eric Lopez.
Some tech glitches, but I'm good. And look, I'm so excited to see Britt, who I've missed your voice, actually.
My voice is a little hoarse from being in Oklahoma City.
I bet. You and everybody else.
Right.
Yeah, Eric. So we're kind of talking about how Oklahoma jumped on Texas early, and Azell Check, who did a phenomenal job. But as we talked about in the pregame show, Eric, with Tracy Alexander Nepal, with Sydney Ball Malone, the UCF, if you give Oklahoma extra opportunities, they always make you pay. And that was the case in that 4th inning. And Eric, I think the big thing also, we kind of talked about it before he came in, that home run saving catch by Jada Coleman.
Yeah, what did you say that, Britt? Game. I mean, defensively, OU was incredible.
Jordy Ball not pitching much this postseason, dealing with the injury. Jada Coleman, the pitch, the earlier in that inning, I'm pretty sure that ball she robbed in center field would have been out as well. I think she robbed back-to-back home runs in the same inning.
Yes.
And I tell you what, that is a momentum change. Texas was all over Ball. They were hitting her hard. They were hitting her far. But her defense, man, and Jada Coleman by herself picked her up, kept them in the game, kept the momentum on the side, even when they were down 2-0. Being down 2-0 to Oklahoma is nothing, right? But then you give up 2 bombs, one a 3-run home run. I think the other one would have been a 2-run home run. I mean, that's a big hole to come out of with a freshman in the circle. Jada Coleman, she put the team on their back today defensively. We don't talk about Oklahoma's defense very much because we don't get a chance to, because their pitchers are usually spot on. But tonight, they had an opportunity to show up and say, hey, we're not just offense. We play a hell of a defense too.
It's really remarkable. You won them the game, because you're right. If Coleman doesn't make those 2 plays, we might have a completely different conversation. I thought Texas played well. I thought Estelle Check was good. I think if you're Texas, you couldn't have asked for anything better through the first 3-4 innings. But this OU team, man, like that just explodes. And next thing you know, we had a good game, and then it wasn't a good game. It's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, they got extra at bats. We were talking before you got on the foul ball that wasn't caught with 2 outs after getting Allo and Jennings out, and then Brito, after not getting that foul ball caught, next pitch double up the middle, and then there's an error. She scores. Any little opportunity you give to the best team that I have seen in my lifetime play, they're going to take advantage of it, and they did it. And their hitters got extra at bats. I know in the 5th inning, they were talking about how it could be Allo's last at bat, but they just strung things together, took advantage of errors. She came in the 7th inning, got another at bat. Oklahoma's too good to give up things like that. But I think I want to give my praise to Estelle Check, though. I like I said earlier, I think she did a great job and was competitive enough to allow her team to have a chance to beat Oklahoma if they played perfectly on other aspects of the game.
I thought she was throwing well, Victor, right? Didn't you feel like she was really in command? I thought she was fantastic for them.
She did what she needed to do. She kept the ball down. She got a lot of contact in the air, but in the infield and shallow to the outfield. And that's what you need to do. Get early contact and get those outs up in the air. But once you give up that little, it's like a snowball. You see a little pebble, once it starts rolling down a hill, next thing you know, it's monstrous and you can't slow it down. And that's what happens with Oklahoma. Daniel Lawrence said, you give them an inch, they take them out. No, if you give them an inch, they take the whole 40 acres, the mule, everything alongside with it. That's what Oklahoma's offense has done to everybody that they played this year.
Let me ask you this, because obviously I'm sure Mike White will get asked about this in the post game. It was 2-2. Then OU took the 3-2 lead on the Brito hit against Check. And then Hansen hit the 3-run homer. Would you have taken Check out after the Brito double that gave him the lead, or did you had no problems keeping a Check in the game at that spot? Because obviously that's something he's going to get asked about. What was your thoughts there, Britt, as you were watching that unfold?
No, I leave her in. Absolutely leave her in. There's no doubt in my mind that I leave her in. The Hansen home run, she missed a pitch. She shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with. Defensive errors behind her, extended the inning, make the change there. But no, I leave her in. She had proven herself 2 times through this lineup already, that she has her good stuff. She's pitching well. No, I leave her in. I think that was the right call.
Plus, I think that Texas staff was worn out, weren't they? I mean, especially, Haley Docini, a salute to her. She's had a heck of a postseason through a ton of pitches. I think you could tell she was on empty by the end of this champs, if we got to the end of this World Series. Every other Texas pitcher pitched against OU. It's just, I don't think Mike White had a lot of options there in that situation either. Check was their best pitcher.
Yeah, and Check, she did a great job against Arizona. She has showed up in the postseason. But going back to Dulcini, she beat Oklahoma earlier this year. And I think, just beating them earlier this year gave them a lot of confidence moving into the postseason. So I think Dulcini did her job when it needed, just for the mental aspect for this team to be where they are now. But, they see Dulcini so many times. You can't go 6, 7, 8 times against these Oklahoma hitters and expect to get them out anymore. They're just too good. But you're exactly right. I think their pitching staff, they used all the tricks they had. They tried everything. They had all their tools out on the table, and Oklahoma had seen them all. And there's not much you can do after that.
I agree. Victor, I'm still kind of shell shocked because I really thought we were getting a really good game here. I'm thinking, hey, this could be exciting. Next thing you know, it's like poof.
It's like dealing with the Golden State Warriors pre-Kevin Durant. You figure you're in a game with them. Next thing you know, they hit a bunch of threes. You go from being down 7 to being down 24, and you're having your starters on the bench because the game is already out of reach. Oklahoma softball does that to every opponent. We've seen that particularly with UCLA after they lost to the Bruins to force the unnecessary game. And we especially saw that in game 1 when they jumped on Texas early. Once Oklahoma gets that first hit going, it's almost a matter of not if, but when that crooked number is going to go on the scoreboard. And we saw it again, and that's why Oklahoma's a national champion for the second straight year.
It's incredible. I mean, it's just incredible. You mentioned this, Brittany. You think this is the greatest team you've ever seen. For those that don't know, Brittany McKinney played at North Carolina. Obviously, now covers the game as a media. You've been around the game for a while. What makes this team so special? What is it that it feels like they're a step right now? They're above everybody else in the sport when we have the most parity ever, and yet here they are. I mean, what is it? What have you that you've seen it?
You know, I wish I knew how they got to where they are, how good they are, how good their hitters are. But 1 through 9 in that lineup, you can't pitch around Jocelyn Allo. You can't pitch around Tiare Jennings because you've got Kenzie Hansen there. You know, 1 through 9, they can hit the ball. They're athletic. They're disciplined. You know, they have the pitching in the circle. They just, you know, I wish I knew their secret. And they talked about a lot on the broadcast, and you could see in the dugout talking to JT Gasso in the dugout before they go up to a bats, you know, chasing the pitch they want to hit, knowing what they're looking for. And I think Estelle Check did a good job kind of throwing them off the game for a couple innings. But, you know, the more they see her, the more they know how they're going to attack certain hitters, then they make those adjustments. And they do a great job of being disciplined at the plate and swinging at the pitch they want to swing at, knowing it's going to come. And I mean, they're always on time. That's the other thing. You know, they don't get fooled. We saw the other day hitting changeups out of the park, and they were never out on the front foot. It's not like they just missed it. They were balanced in the box. They were squaring off, speed up, on time. It's just, you know, it's pretty incredible. And yeah, I think they are the best softball team, top to bottom, that I've seen play. And it, you know, you go back to Jenny Dalton Hill era where Jocelyn Allo's chasing her RBI record, and Leah Bratz on that team. You know, I didn't have the opportunity to watch them on TV, so I don't want to take away from that team. But right now, the team that I've been able to watch and follow, hands down.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree. Well, congrats to Jenny Dalton Hill. She maintained her all-time record of RBIs, held on.
She survived.
But she did it with a white ball and an aluminum bat.
That's true. I mean,
come on. I mean, that's impressive.
It's one of the most underappreciated players in the history of the sport. What she accomplished. I agree. Like, I mean, she should be brought up more when we talk some of the great Arizona greats in the history of the sport. I don't think she gets brought up enough.
And as a second baseman.
Yes.
She's a second baseman.
I remember me and Vic. Yeah, me and Victor did a draft. This was 2020 when we had nothing else to do. And I think I picked. Did I pick Jenny to be my second?
You picked Jenny Dalton Hill. I was mad that you did it too.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did, because she was amazing, an awesome person there. As well, speaking with Brittany McKinney, ACC Network, ESPN analyst, former Tar Heel, here on In the Circle. Jocelyn Allo, best hitter you've ever seen?
Hands down, no doubt. I mean, she's so good. It's not like you can just throw her on the inside part of the plate or the outside. She doesn't have a weakness. And then she doesn't chase. So you try to chase her, get her out, chase out of the zone, pitch around her. She's not going to chase. She's going to take the walks. Then you bring it in the zone, and she's going to make you pay. And she, you know, we see all the line drives and the doubles off of her. She's not necessarily always swinging for the fence. Just the discipline she has to be such a great hitter that she is, the reputation she has, and not to get frustrated with pitchers pitching around her. Come on, she's got it all. She's got it all. Best hitter in college, baseball, softball. I mean, come on.
It's insane because she has all this incredible power, right, Victor? She has this incredible power like a slugger, but yet she's hitting over 500 as a play. It's insane, and we've all seen her too. Her home runs are different than others' home run. When she hits a home run, it impacts you can sense the momentum, right? Like you've played the game, obviously, but So you know what I'm talking about. Like, it seems like when she hits a home run, not only it ignites her, but it ignites the entire team. And you can just sense the momentum. It's just truly special stuff.
And she never presses. You know, we saw her chasing that record for a little bit and maybe a little bit of pressing there. But come postseason, she's got a target on her back. She's had all this notoriety as she deserves, spotlight that she deserves, and it never got to her. She never backed down. Her numbers in the postseason, the home run cycle in 2 games, give me a break. Come on. She never pressed. She stayed within herself, and that takes a lot more than just the physical talent that she has. I mean, she is far and beyond between the ears as a hitter just as much as she is as a physical hitter.
And we talk about Hope Trout. We talk about the offense naturally, but Nicole May and Hope Troutwine, Nicole getting the start today, we don't give enough praise to this pitching staff because this offense has been so historically dominant. But this pitching for Oklahoma with Ball and May and Hope Troutwine, especially Troutwine in the postseason, where Ball wasn't available up until they got to Oklahoma City. How big was Hope Troutwine to get Oklahoma to this point and getting them the national championship?
Well, we saw Jordy Ball all year long, right? It was Jocelyn Alo and Jordy Ball. That was the talk of Oklahoma. The freshmen coming in, you know, throwing heat, moving the ball, you know, making her name on the big stage, carrying Oklahoma to 40 straight wins. I mean, it was the Jordy Ball show in the circle. And then she goes down. She gets injured, has the forearm problem. And then Hope Troutwine comes in and she had stayed sharp all year long, right? You got to give her some credit for not just packing the bags, be like, oh, freshman's in here taking my spot. We're relying on the freshman. You know, I'm all old news. No, she stayed sharp. She stayed competitive. She was ready every time they gave her the ball. Nicole May the same way, especially when you have a freshman coming in and taking over the program in the circle. For those two to stay sharp and stay competitive and stay in the game, and you know, hats off to them for their courageous effort all year long, because I'm sure they wanted to be in the circle more than they were through the regular season, but they showed up when it mattered.
Yeah, I mean, Troutwine to me was the unsung hero that, you know, should get a lot of credit. She carried this staff in the postseason, and if it wasn't for a historic Jocelyn Alo performance, she probably would have had a shot to win the MOP for the World Series, but you can't deny the GOAT shattering all the women's college World Series numbers that she did. Let's talk quickly about Texas here. We've kind of obviously, it happens when you lose, you kind of get a heck of a run. A salute to Mike White in Texas. To go to Seattle, they win the regional in Washington. They beat a really good Arkansas team, the SEC champs in the Supers. They beat UCLA, lose to Oklahoma on Saturday, come back, beat a good Arizona team that was playing great momentum, as you know. And then obviously Oklahoma State twice to get to their first ever champ series. That's a heck of a run for Mike White in Texas. And I think the sport's better when Texas is relevant. A salute to them. I know it's disappointing that, you know, the way it turned out in the champ series, but a heck of a year for Texas overall.
Yeah. And I think it started with them having a chip on their shoulder. They talked about it since the selection show that they thought they had done enough to deserve to host a regional.
Yeah,
and then
I heard about it. Trust me, I heard about it.
I'm sure. And then to go on the road to Washington with Gabby Plain down in the late innings against Gabby Plain, they get the illegal pitch and they take advantage of it, beat Washington on the road. And then they go on the road to the SEC champions, regular season tournament champions, Arkansas, that I think everybody expected to be in Oklahoma City. You know, they beat them. I expected Arkansas to be in the champ series. I thought they would be here against Oklahoma.
You and me both.
And they go in there at home in Fayetteville, Arkansas, beat them. You know, they never got tired. They never got tired of trying to defend and prove what they thought was right. And you got to love the fight that they put up, especially in the circle with Dulcini and Czech. You know, Dulcini's performance in Arkansas was just, you know, amazing. She was just lights out. And then you can't talk enough about Janae Jefferson, you know, best hitter come through Texas. You know, you hate to see these stellar careers in Janae Jefferson, Jocelyn Alo. That's the bittersweet moment of this day. But, you know, Texas, nobody expected them to be here. Hats off to them to making it. And it was not an easy road to get here.
It was an interesting World Series in terms of how we got to our teams. We all kind of figure Oklahoma would potentially end up winning the whole thing, but you have 3 unseeded teams make it in Oregon State, Arizona, and of course Texas. You have Florida knock off Virginia Tech and Blacksburg. You have Stanford go to Tuscaloosa and do something nobody has ever done, beat Alabama to advance out of regionals. And that this postseason kind of highlighted what Eric talked about, and that's the ever-growing parity in this sport of softball. And we're seeing more teams with the right situation showing that, hey, we can make it Oklahoma City too.
It's just the growth of softball. I think maybe I missed it, but Florida State going down to Mississippi State.
Yes.
I still haven't gotten over that.
That was the starter of the tournament.
Don't worry, we're going to get into that. We'll get into that a little bit.
I can't believe that, but you got to props to the development of the support and the investment into the sport. Not just the players have always been there. There's always been great female athletes, but now you have the technology. Now you have the financial support. Now you have the support behind ESPN, putting them on TV all the time on ESPN Plus. And these young girls are seeing what needs to be done, how to play the game, and they can emulate that. And we're seeing that pay off now. The 3 unseeded teams, it was a mind blow. It's like March Madness, right? You see basketball. There's so many upsets. 1 versus 16 goes down, and we had a 2 seed go down. It's just because the parity in men's basketball, it's been around for a long time. They've got great athletes. We're there. We are there, and it's props to the support, the television, the technology and these schools investing in softball finally.
Well, and you got to see it up close. You called the Durham Regional with Clay Madvick, which I enjoyed. The hours were a little different. Like I'll never forget late night. You're calling late night games, and that Liberty fan who just kept going and going, and But anyway,
I'm used to Pac-12 after
I know, right?
So
right.
It was good.
You carried it over to Durham, evidently. But that was the first time Duke got to host, because they didn't get to host because of all the predetermined sites last year. No, but they got to host for the first time. Clemson got to host for the first time. Virginia Tech got to host for the first time. UCF in my backyard, who you saw last year, they got to host for the first time. Some new blood hosting the regionals too. I thought that's something that was one of my takeaways from the postseason regionals as well.
Yeah, it was so fun to see these teams, especially east of the Mississippi, even further east of the Mississippi. We're going East Coast now. We're not just SEC country anymore. And ACC stepped up regular season, beating a lot of good teams. Florida State, UCLA, they beat Texas, Oklahoma State. They beat teams that were in Oklahoma City. We talk about FSU and carrying the ACC, but it's not just FSU anymore. And then UCF getting a much-deserved host with the regional. Florida, the state of Florida is not just Florida State and UF anymore. We've got the Knights there, and they're making noise, and they're young, and they're well coached. It's just so much fun to see these. It's not the same teams every year over and over. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, because a lot of these teams are bringing the core back. Virginia Tech, yes, losing Keely Rochard. They got Emma Limley. Catherine Sandercock announced she's coming back for her 5th year. Clemson, Valerie Cagle, Millie Thompson's still there. Duke lost St. George, but Jayla Wright showed herself this postseason and showed that she's the one, against big hitters, she can keep them off balance. So these cores on the East Coast are coming back, and I love it. I love it. It's great for the sport. It's great for the fans. It's great for the viewership. It's just all around, this sport, it's still going.
Well, and you saw it up close. Mississippi State hosting a super regional. Samantha Ricketts. My goodness. Yeah. And what an environment that was for that Arizona Super. I think they had 2,000-3,000 there.
Set records.
Yeah. A lot. And Oregon State, Laura Berg gets all the way to the World Series. A team that probably had to win the Utah series in the end of the regular season, the final series, just to get into the field. They were one of the last teams in. They go to Knoxville, win that regional, beat Stanford, and they end up in Oklahoma City. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. And then, but the thing is you see the development. You see such great coaching now. I'm like Laura Berg. She's been there for a while. They haven't had the success they thought they should have. But after the years of development and continuing to grow players, and Stanford, that they weren't great after Rittman left, and then they start developing players. It takes time, and we're finally seeing that success where schools invest in coaches and stick with them and understand it's a process. And now we're seeing this process come to fruition, and it's challenging everybody. It's challenging the SEC. It's challenging the PAC. It's everybody challenging themselves, just like as a player, right? You want that competition. You got two great shortstops. They're only going to make themselves better. And as the Pac-12 gets back, the ACC is getting better. They're making every other team have to get better. And it overall, just like it would be great for your team to have that position competition, having more competitive teams makes the sport better overall.
I want to ask you about the ACC and the Pac-12 because you cover both you very closely. You live in the West Coast, obviously follow the Pac-12, and then you obviously cover the ACC Network. I got to be honest. I'm still surprised I didn't get to see you and Katie George at OKC with a little ACC Network coverage like last year because myself, Victor, as well as Amanda Scarborough, this was a great season for the ACC, and that's not going to change. The incredible years we talked about earlier. But we thought for sure the ACC would have been represented here in Oklahoma City, not just with one team, but maybe multiple teams. Didn't work out that way. We mentioned earlier Florida State losing to Mississippi State, still probably the shocker of all the upsets there, because I thought FSU was another team that could challenge Oklahoma as the 2 seed. Virginia Tech ran into Florida a little bit. Clemson and Duke, I think, was one of those. They had Clemson goes to Stillwater. That's tough. Duke outplayed UCLA for a lot of that super regional, just didn't finish the job there. But your thoughts? I'm sure you were surprised. You ended up still at OKC, but you didn't get to work it because none of the ACC teams were rep. What do you make of that? Is that just bad luck, or is there just another step that the ACC teams got to go? And not throw Florida State out because they've been there. I'm talking more specifically of the other teams.
You look at Duke and Clemson, phenomenal years. They took the next step, right? They've won the ACC regular season, won the ACC championship respectively. They made it regionals last year, and now this year they turned the page, made it to super regionals. They didn't take a step back at all. They're moving forward. I would have been shocked if they didn't make it to supers, not shocked if they didn't make it to Oklahoma City, and they were both competitive in their super regionals, and I think that's a step forward for their program. I think Virginia Tech, on the other hand, they made it to supers last year, fell short against UCLA, where Keely Richard had to pitch all 3 games after winning the first game. And going into this season, Pete DeMoore said, we need to keep Keely healthy because, it kind of looked like she ran out of gas, not take away from the fact that she had to face those hitters for 3 games. But I think we saw that again this year with the illegal pitches with Emma Limley. There's just a lot going into that. Their offense really stepped up. So with Keely Richard gone, if Emma Limley can fix the illegal pitches and not have to worry about that every time she's in the circle, even when it's not getting called, that's in the back of her mind. So I think that has to be a huge difference for them moving forward because their offense shocked me. That was the biggest surprise for me with that Hokies team is how well they hit the ball and could score runs and give run support to a team that was primarily based on pitching. But I think the ACC next year is going to make some more noise. They're going to be in the conversation. I expected Virginia Tech and Florida State to be in Oklahoma City, and it didn't happen this year.
Yeah.
But, that's something to learn from, especially with the core coming back. Just Virginia Tech's losing their ace. That's huge, but we saw how good Emma Limley is. So yeah. Duke's bringing their core back. Clemson's bringing their core back. Florida State, Virginia Tech, they're going to make noise again next year. And I think they're going to have something to prove because they got a lot of buzz about the ACC this year. A lot of people were talking about the ACC for the first time ever. And then nobody made it Oklahoma City. So I think as a conference and as individual teams, they're going to come back with a chip on their shoulder, and they've got the talent to come back.
I agree. And I think you're dead on about Duke and Clemson. They, to get to the supers. Victor, you called Clemson. You've been on the Clemson bandwagon for a while, and Duke. I think this was what we expected from them. So that part didn't, supers ran in. But Florida State obviously was a shocker to Mississippi State. Just had a bad day there to lose twice to them. Who knows? But I think Virginia Tech, Brittany, and I still can't believe. I still don't know what I saw there. Like, Florida is really good. Trust me, as somebody who's had to cover many of the regionals for the UCF. Now everybody understands why UCF doesn't, we don't want to go to Gainesville regionals because they're really good. But I was just shocked at how that kind of unfolded in that third game, a 12-0. I was stunned by not that Florida won, but the way they won. And I don't know if the pressure got to Virginia Tech. You mentioned Keeley wasn't perhaps not 100% maybe worn down. I was just shocked because I was like you. I thought, they were taking these steps. They got to the regionals in Lexington a couple years. Last year with one win away, pushed UCLA. I thought this was their year. Pete DeMoore is a great coach, great staff. I just was shocked at how it just kind of fell apart for them there against Florida.
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree. They had the fan base there. They're playing at home. That was the big thing for Pete DeMoore, is to play at home during supers to make the difference. And they were at home, and it was packed. It was loud. They had all the support. But I really think, that last game, Keeley wasn't sharp. Emma Lemley comes in, a couple illegal pitches again. And, that was the most frustrating part for me, is to continue to see those illegal pitches. We go back to the Florida State series against Virginia Tech, is when they played, and that's when Lemley got called a ton for those illegal pitches. And even Pete DeMoore admitted mid-game during the interview, yes, she's illegal, don't really like the rule, but I don't care if you like the rule or not, right? We've got to make a change, and I didn't see any changes. And their offense can only do so much. And if you get down in a hole, then as a hitter, when you step in the box, you're either going to press, try to do too much, or, be tentative at the plate. And that's where they found themselves. And I hate it for that team because they're so talented and had done so much all year long. But, coming back just because, they had the chip on the shoulder last year falling to UCLA, one game away. They had that same chip, had Keely Rochard coming back. I'm going to be interested to see how they respond. I think they're going to be my big question mark going into next season.
100% agree. I mean, Victor, you and I talked about Virginia Tech when I called the Virginia Tech UCF series. I thought they had arrived. I thought they were legit. And I'm stunned. I'm still stunned they didn't get to OKC. I thought they were incredible watching them live, winning the regular season title, beating FSU 2 out of 3. But I think we bring up those questions. The illegal pitch, Lemley, they're going to have to address that. I mean, that did become a story, unfortunately, for them in the second half, Victor. That's just is what it is.
Well, I think with Virginia Tech and the whole illegal pitch situation, I'm sure that's something that Pete DeMoore and his staff will talk with Lemley in the offseason going to fall and this is where the transfer portal is going to come into play, because you can find someone to partner with an Emma Lemley or make up the loss for a Sydney Sherrill in the transfer portal. That's the biggest thing about the sport, Brittany. And you know this. We see athletes, Oklahoma, Hope Troutwine, the difference she made transferring in from North Texas. The transfer portal is going to be it's going to be huge.
Yeah, there's some great arms already in the transfer portal, and there's some great bats. The transfer portal is a newish thing to our sport, and we see it growing by numbers each year. Each year, there's more and more players entering. And then we see, like, Oklahoma State, man, they are like the queen of getting the good transfers to come in and make these runs. And we saw what they did with a team full of transfers. It's just, you never know what to expect next year until you see who gets who, and then a pitcher out of North Texas coming in and going to the national championship, that you don't expect that. You don't expect these mid-major pitchers to come in and compete for national championships, but the talent's so good. And then they get where they are, and they're like, you know what? I can go to the next level, or, this just isn't the right fit for me. And then they pick up somebody from a North Texas, another mid-major, and make a run. So it makes the sport exciting. We have no idea who's going where, but, it makes the off-season a little bit more exciting.
Well, yeah, and, you bring up, Florida State. Obviously, Lonnie has done that with Mac Leonard this year. And then next year, we're probably going to see Ali Dubois, who she
Mm-hmm.
got from the pitcher from Boston, who she redshirted this year, because Lonnie believed in redshirting some pitchers. And now with the news that Sandercock's back, but that's another example. You're right. I mean, that's why it's going to be harder to kind of forecast what to expect next year, because there's going to be a lot of movement between now and then that could change the direction of some of our thinkings there. Let me give you thoughts on the Pac-12. Oregon State gets to the World Series. We mentioned Arizona. What an amazing run for Caitlin Lowe and Taryn Moad and Lauren Lappin and that staff. I mean, so much adversity with injuries, things not going well for them, to overcome that, win the Missouri Regional, beat Mississippi in the Supers, and actually go the furthest that Arizona has gone in the World Series since 2010 when Kenzie Fowler and company were in the Champ Series. I thought Arizona were big winners. I thought Caitlin Lowe was a huge winner. With how she handled the adversity in the media was tremendous. I think everybody enjoys that. And then obviously UCLA had their own adversity this year. Megan Faramo, I thought, was fantastic in the World Series. If I'm a Bruin fan, I'm excited about next year. Your thoughts on, because you got to see all three up close in person there. It was kind of a unique year for the Pac-12. We didn't know what to make of it, but 3 teams to the World Series. Arizona State was outs away from getting there as well. What was your impression of seeing them up live?
I think the nation as a whole misses out on how competitive the Pac-12 is, just because they don't get to see them as much as they do with the SEC, the ACC Network, the SEC Network. You don't get to see how good the Pac-12 is all year long, and they've been so competitive. For Arizona, they started out in the Pac 0-8 to make it to the World Series. It's not just a testament to how they developed late in the year. It's a testament to how strong this conference is. And you talk about Stanford, they hosted the Super, got beat out by Oregon State. UCLA bringing back Faramo. This conference, Utah, we don't talk about Utah very much, but they challenged everybody they played. Right. This conference is strong, but I just don't think the nation gets to see them all year long to really give them the respect they deserve. And they take advantage of it in the postseason.
Agreed. And some Pac-12 fans think that I'm negative. I'm anti-Pac-12 because I'm critical of them a little bit. Only because, and we had Kenzie Fowler on last night. And my whole point with the Pac-12 is, look, the coaches in this league are incredible, what they do, considering, you just brought this up, they're up against the SEC, who has all these resources with facilities. We just saw Trisha Ford go in A&M. The facilities played a big role in that, and the backing they have there that the Pac-12 doesn't. Like, the Pac-12 needs to kind of help these coaches and these programs out, because it's a great product. I purchased the Pac-12 network because I enjoy Pac-12 softball. But I mean, you see this with the ACC. One of the reasons the ACC is on the rise is the commitment to the sport. And I get frustrated with the Pac-12 because I feel like they feel like, we're fine, we're good. Yeah, you're great now, but look what's going on with the SEC, the ACC, and elsewhere. I mean, I think the sport is growing to an incredible popularity, which makes it a more popular spectator sport. And I'm not going to call out certain Pac-12 schools, but there are some facilities that you're like, not the greatest to go watch a game or broadcast. And that's where I'm coming from. I'm not anti-Pac-12. I'm a fan of the coaches and the players in that league. But my concern with the Pac-12 is, are they still living in the past where, we're fine. We don't need, we're going to be fine. And next thing you know, we could be having a conversation 5-6 years from now, how the Pac-12 has been passed by the SEC and the ACC and others.
No, I think that conversation has started. I think that conversation started a couple of years ago, that the SEC and the ACC, now just the ACC, rising above the Pac-12. And I think you're right. I think the Pac-12, the administrations as a whole, the top dogs, the people that we don't know have kind of hung their hat on the past performances of the Pac-12. You know what? They're good enough. They still win. We'll just put into what we've put in for a while, and they're just good enough. They get the recruits, and that's a testament to the coaching in the Pac-12 to still be able to get the top athletes and come into the Pac-12 and play. And some of it has to do with the history. You got UCLA, the most national championships ever. Arizona, the second most national championships ever. But I think it's time. It's time for the investment to go there. We saw it at Arizona. They got a brand new, beautiful stadium.
Yep.
And then, Trish Ford leaving Arizona State as the Pac-12 regular season champion to go to an SEC school that didn't make the SEC tournament or the SEC, or the NCAA tournament.
Right.
You're going from something that's established to something that you're going to have to rebuild. What's the reasoning there? Why would you leave? A&M's got a great, beautiful, multi-million-dollar stadium. ASU has a nice stadium, but where was their vision for the future? I'm sure that was the question that she
Yep.
was asking administration when she decided to leave, is what's our 5-year plan? Where are we going to invest in this program? We've proven that we are good and can be good and be competitive on a national stage, but where are we moving forward? And I think there's a new commissioner in the Pac-12. Maybe there's some new vision there. And, I think the Pac-12 maybe had a little bit of reality check the past 2 years, but then still to show their success is, it's a testament of how they play ball, how they're coached,
Yes.
and just the talent across the country.
Agreed. And again, because I was hearing it from Pac-12 fans, like, you see, we got 3 teams in the World Series this year and all that. I'm like, it's not the point. It's the bigger picture here. And the reality is the Pac-12, UCLA won in 2019, but the SEC's won 3 during that. We know what Oklahoma's doing. Oh, by the way, Oklahoma and Texas are going to the SEC in a few years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
The SEC is about to get stronger, and that's all my concern with the Pac-12. But it's good to hear that you're saying, and I think Kenzie kind of echoed what you said, that they're starting to have that conversation finally.
And I just want to apologize. I misspoke. A&M did make the NCAA tournament. They were just at the bottom of the SEC, where ASU was the top of the Pac-12.
Yeah, they made a regional in Oklahoma. They got rewarded.
But to go from number 1 to the bottom of this, why do you do that?
Yeah, but that's been the trend. People have been plucking the Pac-12. Mike White left Oregon to come to Texas. I mean, I know Texas is a great job, but so I just hope Pac-12 fans understand. I feel like they're kind of, and I get it, there's a lot of pride in the schools and the alums, and I know there's that rivalry with the SEC in particular. They kind of cringe, but I just think it's better for the sport overall, because this sport could be a revenue maker. That's the other thing. I feel like the Pac-12 is missing out on revenue. I mean, UCF, Brittany, made revenue this year because they were 22nd in attendance. Like, you're telling me Pac-12 schools can't make revenue if you give the fans a reason to go to the parks?
Yeah, and the reason to go is already established, is what's on the field, but you got to make the entertainment around it. You got to give them a good parking, good facilities, make it the whole package deal. You've got it on the field already. We've got the talent. We've got the coaching. It's just the extras that, the SEC, but the SEC network, the ACC network, these people are able to watch on TV or on their apps all year long. They start to know these teams. They're able to know the players, know the coaches. Then they get invested. Then they start showing up at the games. I think that's where the Pac-12 is falling behind.
I agree. All right, I'm off my soapbox. Victor wants me off the soapbox. I want to ask you before we let you go. You've been so great to join us. It's been awesome to have you on. This was your second year nationally broadcast. I know you've done broadcasting prior to that, but this was your second year nationally with ESPN, doing the ACC Network, covering them, doing studio work. What was year 2 like for you to do obviously the studio stuff for ACC Network? You'd be on with Jordan Cornette or Kelsey Riggs on all ACC, breaking down the ACC. You were at Pittsburgh with Katie George covering it on site. And then you did the regional with one of my favorites, Clay Madvick, really a wacky Durham regional. I mean, that Georgia Duke, that was a wacky regional. What was year 2 like for you?
And it was such an honor to be invested with these teams, especially going to the ACC tournament, to be able to do those post-game interviews with the players, with the coaches, sitting down with Logaleo after her big games, just being there and seeing the excitement, to be able to show the world, how great these athletes are on the biggest stage. That was the honor for me, is to try and show how good they really are to the world, to the nation. And that was just an honor for me to be able, they entrusted that with me, with the ACC. And I was more than happy and grateful for that. But, being on the field, talking to the players and coaches, and then going to a regional that, I thought was probably the hardest regional in the country, with Liberty, Duke, Georgia, UMBC with a pitcher with a sub-1 ERA. Just being around great softball is just it makes my job so much easier. You just feed off the excitement from the players and the coaches and the fans. It's been a heck of a year, and I'm grateful for every second of it, and grateful that the parity, the depth of softball is here, and I'm very confident that it's here to stay.
I was just glad you got to call regional in person, because last year you had to do it remotely, right? For Tallahassee.
Yes, that was a challenge. It was it was great softball, but to be there and be able to feel the fan noise, the field noise, feel the environment, it just makes it so much better, so much more fun, and I think it adds to the viewer's experience when you're there and you're feeling the emotions. And to have such a great regional, man, it was a dream come true.
Well, I'm happy for you. I know you're balancing it out with family and everything. It's not easy, but I thought you were great. I really enjoyed you and Clay, and I've enjoyed you and on the coverage on all ACC and the ACC. Like I said, I was really bummed out that you and Katie George were not in OKC. I know you both were, so maybe next year.
Yeah, we were already making our plans in Pittsburgh when we were doing the ACC tournament about where we're going to dinner. We were ready for OKC, but. Hey, next year, you watch. Over, under, we got 2 coming back. I guarantee it.
I like that. All right. That's pretty good. Look at Victor's. And by the way, you and I have talked off there. We're going to meet up in Clearwater. That's going to happen there. You're going to be in Clearwater. We're all going to be in Clearwater. Just more people coming out, Victor. I'm telling you, it's going to be a big party in Clearwater next year for the Invitational.
That'll be fun.
Wait, Vic, hold on. You got muted there. There you go. I'm going to unmute you there.
I would have to say, I was so fluffered by what Brittany said, I muted myself for a moment. Yeah, I had to make sure the team I'm broadcasting for doesn't have a home tournament that weekend. Otherwise, that is a great idea.
I'm just saying. All right, Brittany, thanks so much for joining us. We were me and her were texting during the game, like, hey, you want to come on? I just realized, I haven't had you on the air this year after having you on last year. I figured, come on, I missed the voice. So I appreciate you coming on short notice. And give us your analysis. And again, great year. I really enjoyed it. I was happy for you. Send my best to the family there. And thanks for putting up with us here tonight.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for all you do for the sport. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Brittany McKinney joining us, former Tar Heel great, ACC Network, ESPN. Awesome person. One of my favorite people. Breaking it down there, Victor. That was good stuff, as usual.
Yes.
And lots of tune-in people here. All right. We got a lot of people. A lot of people have asked this question while we were talking to Britt to ask you, Victor, about this, and they've asked me about this. So I do want to address it. We will address it. And that was a lot of people are still figuring out what happened at the end there in the celebration where Steve Singleton was shown, the assistant coach at Texas, kind of being held back by Mike White. He looked upset. It was a brief look. I'm trying to text people. But have you seen anything at all? I haven't seen anything. I don't know what happened. People have been asking us. That's why we're addressing it now.
Right. I know Brittany McKinney was reaching out to her connections to try and get confirmation. From the chat, we deciphered 2 possibilities. One, Mia Scott and her family didn't get the home run ball on a call that was ruled a home run at the replay. And then number 2, they were maybe upset about the inconsistent strike zone that was called tonight, especially with Giselle Check. So that's a possibility. Those are the 2 most likely scenarios that led to Coach Singleton expressing his displeasure. So
it's kind of weird to be upset about that at the end of the game. That's something. I think I'm going to go with the first one. I am texting people as well, so I'm hoping to get an answer. I kind of go with option A.
Yeah, the not getting the Mia Scott home, not getting the ball.
That's
from
a
Mia
weird
Scott
time to be upset about the umpiring at the end of the game. It's like but maybe it was a continuation. Who knows? It was a quick shot. Let me ask you this, because I'm going to step out for 2 seconds for a commitment here. Give me your thoughts overall, what we witnessed here tonight.
Well, when you think about what we saw tonight, it really was about, number one, what the story was all year, the relentlessness of the Oklahoma offense, and how if you give them an inch, they will take everything. The forfeiting was a perfect example of that. Secondly, Oklahoma's defense, as much as we talk about the historic offense, the strong pitching led by Jordy Ball, the defense for Oklahoma was sharper than Texas's defense tonight, especially those two catches made by Jada Coleman in that first inning, which turns out saved the game from being a lot closer than what it could have been. It looks like for one of our people in the chat, MIW, thank you for the clarification. Looks like Coach White said getting the ball back was the issue and that the umpire threw it back to Texas aggressively. Interesting. And usually they give it back. They usually get the ball to the usher, and the usher finds the parents and give the ball to the parents or the family members. So that's usually what happens, and apparently that didn't happen to Texas' satisfaction. And Coach White and Coach Singleton therefore decided to take the end of the game and how do we say air their grievances, so to speak, because hey, what are they gonna do? Check them out of a game that's already over and the season that's already ended? Yeah. But it felt this year we were leading up to a coronation of Oklahoma with the way they started the season. The push for the home run record by Jocelyn Allo, her breaking it in her home state against Hawaii, and then the ball, kind of like the floodgates open after that. Jordy Ball bursting onto the scene. Yes, Oklahoma did get stumbled by Texas. Yes, they did lose to Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game. Those were just blips on the radar, so to speak, and looks like we're getting some confirmation with what Coach White might have done. It feels that everything that we were seeing this season was a crescendo to where we were tonight with Oklahoma hoisting the trophy, winning the national championship once again, and kind of capping off one of, or as I say, the most dominant softball season that we've seen, Eric, and we bring it back on. A lot of people brought this up in the chat.
By the way, I got an answer.
Yes, I might have mentioned it, Eric. So please confirm.
Oh, did you get it? Go ahead.
For what MIW said, my Coach White said getting the ball back after the Mia Scott home run was the issue.
So yeah, Brian. Yeah, that's what it was. Brian Davis, who covers Texas athletics, who was at the covering the World Series, tweeted out. Texas coach Mike White said his assistant Steve Singleton tried to get Scott's home run ball back. The ump rolled the ball towards the dugout in a way Singleton didn't like. Thus, Singleton went after the ump. Go ahead, Vic. So, basic. Go ahead. Go. Are you okay? I don't know. I mean, all right. There you go. So that's the. There's the answer. We got the mystery solved because I know a lot of people are asking. Victor has no answer to that. He's got nothing. We have silenced Vic for the first time in the history of the show. He's just.
Can we just move on to another topic, please? Can we move on to another topic, please?
It's like one of my favorite moments. I love this guy. That's why I love this guy, man. He's the best. I would ask you about this game because I really thought, Victor, in the third and fourth inning, I'm thinking to myself, hey, we might have a game 3 after all. I thought Texas was outplaying OU.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm going to have to think about some guest ideas, stuff like that. And among other things we were discussing. And, OU tied it up. And then, like just like that, next thing you know, boom, it was over, 10-2. But that's so Oklahoma, right? Like, they just flip the script there so quickly.
Yes.
It's just crazy. It's just amazing.
You have to literally play your A++++ game to even have a shot against the Sooners. And those plays in the fourth inning that Brittany McKinney talked about were prime examples of that. And it's not surprising that when you have a team like Oklahoma, who's already dominant as it is, you give them extra opportunities, they're going to make you pay more than not. So it is what it is. Credit Texas, a tremendous run to the championship series.
Well, and listen, let's give credit to Oklahoma's defense, which I think helped win the game for them.
Yes.
Think about it. Think to the Coleman robbing of the home run in the early in the game. She
top of the first.
The
bottom of the first, excuse me.
Right, because Jordy Ball was not good. Like,
no, she wasn't.
Like, it's bad when like Patty Gasso in the in-game interviews, like, she hasn't, she hasn't been terrible. But I thought OU's defense was incredible and kept them in the game long enough until the offense figured it out. I mean, we've talked so much about this offense and the pitch, but I thought the OU defense and Jada Coleman in particular was incredible tonight.
Jada Coleman saved 3 runs for Oklahoma. She dropped a 2-run home run and then dropped a 3-run home run back-to-back outs to get Texas out of the first, still with only a 2-0 lead and nothing else. But I want to go back, Eric, to Hope Troutwine. We talked about it when she announced that she was going to Oklahoma as a grad transfer, and I thought that's a nice move. That's a nice addition for Patty Gasso. You have someone who is used to being the ace, and if somebody like a Ball or a May struggle, Troutwine can assume that role. Granted, she had to assume that role because of Ball's injury, but she showed you why. She was one of the best pitchers in Conference USA, one of the top pitchers that not many people had known about in college softball until she went to Oklahoma this season. Now she got the opportunity. I like the gesture by Patty Gasso. It got a little hairy at the end, giving up the runs, but she eventually got the final out to get the win in the national championship for Oklahoma. It's, for me, I'll be real intrigued to see how this Oklahoma team looks next year. Obviously, you lose a lot of talent, but you got a lot of talent coming back. And we all know, Eric, Patty Gasso is going to find somebody or two in the transfer portal to kind of refill that roster.
Let's kind of make my quick thoughts, because people have been asking about next year a little bit. I mean, obviously, Oklahoma is going to be a favorite, but let's. We just saw maybe the greatest softball hitter ever, Jocelyn Alo, play her last collegiate game. They're not going to be as good without her. I'm sorry. Now, they might still be the favorites. They might still win the national, but this is we just saw somebody pretty special in Jocelyn Alo, Victor, there. Yeah. And I thought it was pretty cool to see her in left field and get that curtain call and all that. I thought that was a pretty special moment there. I mean, that's one of the greatest ever to put on that uniform.
Yeah.
So for that reason alone, they're not going to be as good next year as this year, in my opinion. I mean, there's just no way. You just lost the greatest player ever. That being said, they are going to be the favorites. And it'll be interesting to see what their staff looks like with Jordy Ball and then behind him, like you said, and then their offense, obviously with Jennings and Coleman and others, bring back. The other thing, I think when you look at teams, I think UCLA, with what we saw from Faremo, and they're going to get Aaliyah Jordan back. You got Maya Brett. You got all that group. I think UCLA will be right up there. They're going to be the favorites in Pac-12. I like still Florida State. I still don't know how they didn't. I really, I don't know what happened in that region. All I know is this: they got a lot of players coming back. I know they lose Cindy Sherrill, which I know you're worried about, but they're going to get Sander Cock back. They're going to unveil Allie Dubois. That'll be interesting to see. Mm-hmm. So I think Florida State is up there. I think Arkansas will be back. I think they'll be in the mix. And if we learn, we'll see. You're concerned about the seniors' loss, right?
I'm concerned about losing Mary Half, Danielle Gibson, KB Sides. But we talk about Oklahoma, the transfer portal. We talk about Oklahoma State, the transfer portal. Courtney Deifel has worked some magic in the transfer portal before. So all I'll say is that it'll be intriguing to see what happens.
Agreed. And can we stop? Let's not Florida. Can we just bring them up?
Florida.
We stop?
Florida just added a Southland Conference Pitcher of the Year transferring into Florida. They just announced that prior to the start of Game 2. So Florida will be fine, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me.
Yeah, they're going to be in the mix. I thought Brittany was dead on about the ACC outlook, right? Like, I think Clemson Dukes will be really good. Virginia Tech, how do they bounce back from that? Life without Keely Richard. I think will be
without Payne St. George.
You brought that up. Pac-12, we mentioned, obviously, UCLA. Oregon, do they get Brooke Giannis healthy there? You know, I think they could be a factor. They had injuries this year. Arizona, carry that momentum.
Yeah.
You know, they only lose 3 seniors. I think that staff's going to pick up some players. Washington begins life without Gabby Plain. That'll be a question for the Big 12. Let's not forget Oklahoma State. How do they bounce back from that devastating loss to Texas?
And we all know, Eric, Kenny Gajewski's going to get himself a big-time arm in the transfer portal. Look at Samantha Schau. Look at Carrie Everly. You look at Miranda Ellis, even though she didn't pitch as much this year. You know he's going to get himself an arm in the transfer portal. That has been a given in the last few years.
Yes. Agreed. So I think those are some of the teams to look out for. And from a mid-major standpoint, or non-Power 5, if you want it, whatever you want to call it.
Non-mainstream 5. How about that?
We had Sydney Ball Malone on earlier in the pregame. You realize now they do lose their 1-2 punch pitching-wise. Speaking of transfer, but they returned pretty much the core offensively. Everybody, including Cody and Doherty and company, they had some pitching. I think UCF will be right back in the mix to try to host. They're going to be the favorites of the American. If you're looking at, and then remember this, the Cajuns, Louisiana, Jerry Glass, they were young this year. They were very young. I think they're going to be back to being and they still won the Sun Belt. They still won the Sun Belt.
By the way, they did announce earlier today that they will be hosting the Sun Belt tournament in 2023 at Lamson Park. So
I don't know what's going to be wilder, that or the Cajun fans in Clearwater in February. If you're able to make it to Clearwater, Victor, you and Cajun fans, like, I'll never forget the year you're hanging out with LSU fans.
Yeah, D'Angelo Sanchez with the championship bell. Yes, that was a fun experience.
LSU is another team. They're young, too. So there's going to be a lot of questions. Tricia Ford, obviously, at A&M. We'll see what Arizona State does. Things like that. There's so many questions, though, with the season. Obviously, like we said, there's so many movements.
A lot of moving parts. It's too early for us to say because we don't know who's going to end up where in 2023. And we haven't even mentioned Alabama.
Well, Alabama's got some. They returned Fouts. They have Shipman back, but they have lost a lot of players. They've gone to the portal. You know, obviously things didn't end well there at Alabama. How do they bounce back from that? I think will be interesting. But you're right, it's Alabama. That'll be in the mix there. But we got plenty of time for the offseason. We'll be talking about all this in the offseason as it develops on the podcast. Another question people have asked, we couldn't have a champ series without the umpires blowing an obvious call, huh, Vic? I mean, like, how do you – that Scott was a homer. Was a easy. Oh, how do you miss that? People have been asking me of this. I mean, what? Thankfully, they had replay. Can you imagine we didn't have replay?
Oh, yes.
People, and can you imagine if that was a close game and how people would have been? Oh my God.
Oh wow. Yeah. That would have been bad. But I will say this: remember the thing with the rule about home runs, and we saw this in Alabama versus Missouri. If you call it a home run, you cannot change it via replay. But if you call it a double, you can change it to a home run. So I give the umpires credit in this. They went to replay to make sure that it did get called. It should have been called a home run. The review was quick. They changed it to a home run, and the whole fiasco happened with the home run ball, which we went to just a few minutes ago.
Your facial reaction. Priceless.
It's called time and place.
I understand.
Given the circumstances, that was neither the time nor the place to go cuss out Blue. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. So let me ask. So, are you suggesting that you think the umpires was influenced by the fact of, hey, if we call this a double, we can review it? Do you think that played a role in that? Is that what you suggest?
I think the umpire may have been out of position. Because I know, shocking, an umpire not being in proper position. Stunning, I know. Look, But I immediately knew it was a home run.
I thought so too. I think everybody
watching it live.
That's interesting.
But
people commenting, Andy McMahon saying Mike White claimed he was screaming to get the home run ball back. What are we doing?
What are we doing? What are we doing?
All right, so Bryce Wayne has asked the question. I've been asked about this since like the sixth inning. Vic, 2013 versus 2022. We kind of teased this a little bit. Brittany McKinney showed her opinion here a little bit. You know me. I've been the club, the 2013.
Yeah, you have been on club 2013.
Now, Lauren Chamberlain, I guess, postgame said that she's not going to concede that, which you wouldn't expect. Of course, no player's going to concede that. Say, hey, that's better than my team. That said, I'm ready to concede. I think this team is better than 13. I mean, listen, this team run ruled 40 opponents, and these two champ series games you could argue count as you can count them as run rule.
41 and 42. 41.
I looked this up. The 2013 team in comparison run ruled 22 teams.
Wow.
Now, the argument you can make from the 13 aspect is you had a two-time National Player of the Year in Kalani Ricketts in the circle, and Michelle Gascoigne, who had a pro career, was an MPF, an All-American herself. I would give them the slight edge pitching over this team, but man, this offense, Victor. I mean, as great as that offense was with Chamberlain and Penley and Schultz and company,
Ricketts ourselves,
right? How can you? I can't pick any offense better than this offense. You saw it up close last year. And you know what? Yeah, they lost Nicole Mendez. Maybe some of the numbers were, quote, down compared to last year, but they just shattered every record in the World Series, scored more runs than last year when they played more games. I got to give it to this team. Your thoughts?
I get the 2013 team the edge in terms of pitching. I give the 2022 team the edge in terms of offense. I might give 2022 the slight edge in terms of defense as well. Broadcasting, I give the edge to 2022, no question, because I don't know who was broadcasting OU softball in 2013. We know Chris Plank was doing the broadcasting in 2022, so I can give him the edge there.
Sure.
I would say, but I don't want to be too prisoner of the moment. Are we talking one game series? Are we talking best of three? Are we talking?
I think you know what we figured out? We need a softball video game is what we need. Why? When? How do we get that to happen? Like all these other college sports have they're bringing back college football video game. I mean, you're the video.
And they have mods of it too, which is crazy. What we need to do, we need to have like a college. Someone needs to do like a college softball mod of MLB The Show. Yeah, and have like all the college softball teams in there. But the problem is you want to have Bev Mowers on there. You certainly want to have us in the game because we will be providing the podcasting on the college softball video game.
Oh, of course. Sure. Of course.
Naturally.
All right. So maybe that's what we need. The problem is the one person that's the most qualified to answer this question will never answer the question. And that's
Patty Gasso.
Right? Like I will ask her this question, I'm sure, when I have her back on the podcast, and I know I'm going to get blown off, and that's okay.
So why are you going to ask? So Eric,
because because the OU audience that's like they're fans of ours are going to be mad at me if I don't ask the question. It's part of the. I mean, it's a legitimate.
But they're going to be mad But they're going to be mad because they don't get an answer.
I think they're gonna defend Patty regardless whether she gives an answer or not. I think I'm going to be the fall guy either way. That's what it sounds like to me. Bottom line, which is okay. So we'll see.
Bruce, ask her anyway.
See, people want me to ask anyway. Do you think this gap goes into next year? This is the other question we're getting. And you know how this works in sports, right? Like, if they're dominating again next year, people are going to be saying, is this good for the game? Now, game one did 1.4 million last night. I don't know what the number will be tomorrow. It's a little tricky. It was an ESPN2 game, so that's going to limit it a little bit. Would not surprise me if the number is similar, like 1.4. I think it got hurt by being on ESPN2 because of the hockey game, the Lightning and the Rangers game 5, which was a big game because it was a 2-2 series. So that's probably going to hurt a little bit. I hope down the road that maybe what they can do, if they have this conflict, they could put the World Series game on ABC instead of ESPN.
Yes.
In fairness, they had some special programming on tonight that's pretty important. So, so no problems this year. Okay, so I just want to make that clear. But in the future, I think they should put one of these Champ Series games at the ABC. Obviously, they took a big step this year at putting 2 ABC games on the weekend. I think that's going to continue. But I think, this ESPN2 game, I think is the number is not going to be as high because of being on ESPN2 versus ESPN, which as I've mentioned over and over on this podcast, does make a difference.
It does make a difference. It absolutely does make a difference. And here's the thing, Eric. It's hard for us to say the dominance will continue because we don't know who's going to end up at Oklahoma and who's going to end up at their main rivals next year. So I will give Oklahoma, I always give the Oklahoma, but I will always give the defending champion the benefit of the doubt until somebody actually beats them and takes the crown away from them.
Right. But I'm not even asking that. What I'm saying is like, will there be suspense? Because my concern is if we're a year from now, we're like, well, this is OU's,
I think it will be. I think it will be. Because it's interesting. This year, we had as exciting of a postseason as we ever had. But the ending felt anticlimactic. Even though it was Oklahoma versus Texas, we kind of felt with the run that Texas was on, you figured that they were running out of gas and Ossini was pretty much on fumes.
Yes, Rumblari. You know why it's a radio fodder question? Because we come from the radio business. That's what and I'm curious. This is one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing tomorrow. Pardon the interruption, has had softball in the A block. I would assume they're going to bring it up again. I'm curious what direction they go with it. Same thing with Around the Horn.
But we know, look, I already know what direction they're going to go with. I already know what direction to go with Around the Horn, and I know when Bill Plaschke is going to be on the show.
You've had a big problem with Around the Horn. This has been a big
revelation. No. I don't have a problem with Around the Horn. I actually love the show. My problem are panelists like Bill Plaschke and Israel Gutierrez who continue to slap down this stupid narrative that Oklahoma has an unfair advantage playing in Oklahoma City. Why is it that you harp on Oklahoma? Oklahoma State is playing as a similar advantage. They're a little bit further away from Oklahoma City, but you don't mention that about Oklahoma State. And, oh, wait, are you mentioning it now because Oklahoma has now won 4 national championships in the last 6 seasons and played for another one? Is that the issue to drive your narrative? And I know if Reality is watching this, that's going to be a banned word, so go ahead and mute me, Reality. I'll be honored for you to do so. And then Plaschke, were you saying this when your beloved Pac-12, the Conference of Champions, were winning national championships in the 90s and the early 2000s, but could only muster 1 national champion in the last 13 years? Miss me with that, please. Miss me with that, please. And Israel Gutierrez, why don't you mention he culture every other sentence when you're trying to talk about Oklahoma's home field advantage? How about that?
Wow.
Tired of it. I'm tired. I'm tired of all these freaking national people who decide to suddenly follow softball for 2 weeks because, it's Oklahoma City. I want to go in there and talk about my story about Roe v. Wade and it has nothing to do with college softball. Or, let me talk about Oklahoma have a unfair home field advantage when it's only been in Oklahoma City for 33 freaking years. Shut the hell up. I'm tired of you people that don't routinely follow the sport, jumping in on Oklahoma City for 10 or 12 days just so you go get away from your coworkers who you can't stand at your office. I'm tired of y'all. Y'all want to fight along, Vic? You got it.
I wish I had my drink with me. That was incredible. That was incredible. Between that and your reaction to the Singleton umpire at the it's incredible. Look at that. Bryce is fired up about that. Bryce makes up a great point here. I'm really glad you brought this up. Was the Patriots dynasty bad for the NFL? I don't think so because people watch the hopes of seeing them lose. Reminds me of OU. Here's the thing, though. I agree. Fans like dynasty. They don't want to admit it. They complain about it. But history suggests that television.
The numbers show otherwise.
Yes. But here's the thing that was interesting about the Patriot dynasty was, if you remember, they never blow people out. Like these Super Bowls were dramatic. It was tight.
Close.
And that's all I'm saying. My concern is I hope from a softball sports standpoint that this doesn't turn into a UConn invitational women's basketball.
Yeah, UConn women's basketball in the early 2000s.
That's been my turn off to women's basketball. These games are down by 30, 40. Now, in fairness, I think this was a 1 year. I don't think this is a trend because remember last year, Oklahoma was on the brink of elimination and that was a dramatic series. FSU pushed them to the limit. I think, and somebody brought it up earlier in the chat, and I agree. With all these upsets in the regionals, I think it just cleared the path a little bit for OU in the World Series. I don't expect OU to just blow everybody out of the water. I agree. Somebody said, I think if Oklahoma State was here with Maxwell the way she was pitching, and this might have been a more competitive. I still think OU wins, but I
can go 3.
I think up until this year, the OU Patriot Dynasty comparison is good. That's the thing. If OU is in the mix because they're a big draw, but it's tight and it's dramatic and it's suspenseful, that's good for the game.
Yes.
We don't want a 26-6 national championship series, 2-game series like we did this year, consistently. That's all. I think that's a good point from that standpoint. That we had a D2 comment here that I actually wanted to get in here, Victor.
Bring that up. By the way, our latest episode of the podcast, we have the Division II national champion, Andrea Vaughn from Rogers State, from Oklahoma, by the way. And we have the D3 national champion, Coach Keith Parr from Christopher Newport. So, by the way, those 2 coaches this year, Eric, they went a combined 105-11.
That's pretty good. Is that good?
Pretty good. It's not bad.
So, I want to bring this up. Andy McCann 20 brought this up. The OKC hosting allowed Rogers State to win the D2 Natty.
Oh, that is real.
I like that.
Andy,
expand for those that may not be aware about the joke there.
Andy, you understand the assignment. So, essentially, what the national media are saying is that Oklahoma has an unfair advantage when they play the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City. And what Andy is saying is that the reason why Rogers State would have won is that they would have been hosting in Oklahoma City, even though the tournament was held in Denver. Now, what I will say, Andy, is that my idea is, number one, expand the D2 and D3 tournaments to be equal to D1. And then on easy years.
I want you to expand on that. Because you made that, you've tweeted about this. When you say that, explain what your vision is.
Well, I have a vision where they have 8 days to decide a champion, maybe 9 for Division 2 and Division 3. Same format like the Women's College World Series because, hey, they're student athletes as well, and they deserve rest and recovery just like their D1 counterparts. Now, what I would do to take it to the next level is in even years, starting in 2027 or 2028 or 2026, you have it in Oklahoma City, D2, even. In odd years, 2027, 3, odd number, you have D3 in Oklahoma City. But the problem is, if the Division II team who's facing Oklahoma wins, the national media will say, well, they had it in Oklahoma City, so they had an unfair home field advantage.
What about the NIA champs from Oklahoma?
And if they hold it in Oklahoma, they'll do the exact same thing as well because that's their narrative.
Yeah,
that's
3 national titles in the state of Oklahoma. I mean, it can't be all.
Look, I proposed this question to Coach Vaughn during our interview, which you can listen to right now. Is Oklahoma the softball capital of the world? I don't see anything saying that it isn't.
I've said it before and again. For those that don't like it, then you build a big facility that can hold 15,000 fans that it's easy to get to and bring everybody. All right, tell them shut up.
With television, yeah, with easy access for television and media. Yeah. And by the way, for anybody, Bill Plaschke, if you say you have it in a baseball stick, let me stop. Everybody,
I don't know if I'm rooting or not rooting for Bill Plaschke not to be on Around the Horn tomorrow because I'm afraid what could happen. Like I feel like
well, let's just put it this way: be thankful there's no Game 3, and we won't have to find out that answer. Now, will we?
this is. Well, I don't think they're going to bring this up, but we'll see. Okay, so you want that to be an even year, and then the other thing you said that when you said you want the tournament to be similar format to D1.
Yes, I want the tournament to be similar in format, where you have all 4 games in day 1, have the losers bracket games day 2, winners bracket games day 3, and then you have an off day before the championship series. That's all I ask.
By the way, you've picked up. I feel like you're MJF right now. You did a promo.
Whoa. Except what I'm doing is an actual shoot. His is a work.
Are we sure?
No, mine is 100% shoot.
Oh, I know that.
No work. That whole what's going on with Tony Khan and MJF? That's between Tony Khan and MJF. And yes, we're talking wrestling. Yeah.
All right.
I won't have to worry about being powerbombed 9 times.
I will say this: I do think Division 2 and 3's got to get some TV airtime.
Oh yes.
I don't know how you do it. I understand some of the logistics, quote unquote, but if you could put the frickin' D2 basketball championship on CBS, why can't you put softball D2 and 3 somewhere? I mean,
exactly.
I'm not even saying ESPN. Maybe heck, ESPN 3, ESPN Plus. You said the NIA was on ESPN.
NAIA was on ESPN 3. If the NAIA could get their softball championships on ESPN 3, why can't we do the same for Division 2 and Division 3 for NCAA instead of having it be on NCAA.com?
No, with all due respect, NCAA.com.
Yeah, all due respect. Yes.
Yeah, that's all. Nothing personal. It's just more eyeballs if you put them on that 4-letter deal there.
Bruce Wayne. I'm gonna have you be my agent. My agent / bondsman if I ever meet Bill Plash.
I swear, if Tony Reale brings you up because of this, I'm gonna fail.
Okay, Eric. If I get a call from and y'all can please tweet us at In the Circle SB and at Catbird Red. If for whatever reason any part of this brand shows up on either Around the Horn or PTI, well, technically today is Friday here on the East Coast. If that shows up, we may have to do an emergency live stream just for that. We may
now I'm gonna have to watch. That's crazy.
Please tweet Patty Gasso apparently flashing about this, please.
Or Tony Reale more specifically, because I think Reale. I don't even Reale will definitely.
We like Reale. We like Reale. So be kind to Reale, folks.
So somebody apparently asked Gasso about the ranking of the greatest teammates. I think she said basically it's all for you to decide. Basically, she passed the buck to us.
We told you she was going to answer. Hey, folks. Somebody did our job and asked the question to Coach Gasso. So.
Probably wasn't a guy from the New York Times. I'm going to go on a limb on that. But nonetheless, it is what it is on that deal. The thing I'm bummed out, Victor, that was our last college softball game of the year.
I know. But we do have pro softball coming up. We got AUX having their live draft.
How about that? The schedule came out. There's going to be games on the ESPN family networks, including linear, which I was not expecting. That's big news for them. That's a big boost for them there. And that's big. And we got 2 kind of very different pro softball leagues going on, which is an interesting storyline to see what we look like. We got the WPF kind of taking baby steps with Lauren Chamberlain as the commission. I just spoke to Gianna Mancho, who's going to be part of it.
Yes.
That's going to be on the Black and Gold banner for those who want more softball content. Somebody hosts that show. I don't know who, but it's good voice. And then obviously,
that host actually shows up on time. Like
Athletes Unlimited. I know we're going to get into that. We're going to do a draft. You told me, are we doing that live? Are we going to do a draft live or on the? I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to figure something.
We'll figure something. We'll figure something. What we got to figure out quick because the draft's on Saturday.
And here's the thing. Here's the biggest question, and Bryce brings it up. What is Jocelyn going to do? She hasn't decided yet officially what she's going to do. She was drafted number 1 in 2 leagues, which, man, how many people could say that? Does she do Athletes Unlimited? Does she do the WPF, which, again, Lauren Chamberlain is the commissioner? I'm very curious what she does. Do you have any gut feelings? What do you think I would be kind of surprised if she plays next week in Athletes Unlimited because that's such a quick turnaround, right? So that
if she plays in Athletes Unlimited, she will likely take June off, relax, recover, and then join them in Rosemont.
Do you think that's what she ends up? Do you think she ends up picking that, or did she pick WPF? I don't know.
I don't know. Honestly, I'm surprised Jocelyn Allo wasn't a part of Team USA and being a part of them in the World Games in Birmingham in July, but that's a whole nother subject for another podcast.
I'm not worried about that. I worry about more with her and Team USA down the road.
Yes, I agree.
But that will be interesting. Although I agree with you, she better be on Team USA in the future. But anyway, I don't know what she does. See, the thing that's kind of confusing to me is like you can't play both. Like you can't figure it out. Like I don't know.
The schedules, especially the schedules run literally directly in competition with each other, which sucks because players who get drafted in both, like a Georgina Korick, like a Keely Rochard, like a Jocelyn Allo, have to make a decision between the WPF and Athletes Unlimited. Korick's going to be pitching in Athletes Unlimited. Rochard signed with the Pride, so she will be a part of the WPF. Allo, of course, we know her decision is unknown at this particular point in time. So it's going to be interesting to see, right? And I know, and Kaylin, you bring up a very valid point. Do you go with the money with Athletes Unlimited, or do you go with the loyalty with Chamberlain in the WPF? Which is what, Eric, I'm just going to say at this point, how is it that we've been having pro softball for almost 25 years and we still can't find a way to find a sustainable league that can have multiple teams?
Let's say that's going to be one of, I'm sure, that'll be an interesting, we've had that podcast episode before, and we probably will have one again down the road. It's a very good question. I think it's one of the big questions of this offseason, how this all plays out. We'll see. I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know. It's a good question. It's unfortunate. We both have covered the pro league for a while. We just hope it works. Something.
Yes.
So we'll see.
Something.
I don't know. I don't know.
Some stability, please.
Correct. And you might want to take advantage of all the fandom of Jocelyn Allo, who, it's pretty darn good. So I think that's a good test, Victor. Let's see what happens. I think the Jocelyn Allo, what league does she pick? Does she pick a league? Who's to say? Maybe she says, I'm going to take this whole summer off. I mean, the girl.
I want to blame her.
Right?
I want to blame her.
Yeah. We'll see.
Take some time. Look, she has been in the limelight for the last 2+ years.
Minimum.
Straight. I wouldn't fault her if she wanted to take some time off, hang out with the family, go back to the island, hang out, not worry about softball. Because think about this. What more does Jocelyn Allo have to prove other than the international level?
Right. And I think Jocelyn's goal long-term is this, and I agree with Taylor on this. She wants to be on that 2028 Olympic team.
Well, are we sure that softball and baseball are going to be in the Olympics in 2028?
Oh my God! Let's. Oh boy!
Because that you want to talk about dropping the bag.
Yeah, Los Angeles 28. I mean, you got to make it happen. Yeah, but as we've learned, the IOC and all that are a bunch of idiots. So that just is what it is.
Another word that we will not say for even on the live stream. Y'all, it starts with A. Y'all can figure out what the word is.
Trouche. Again, don't encourage him. What is going? What's going? Gosh, Lee, man. If I'm not careful here, I'm going to be edged by Finn Balor, and Vic's going to be Finn Balor here and just take me out.
Yeah. So that would make Brittany McKinney, Rhea Ripley, and who will be Damian Priest?
Probably our audience. Jumping in like Bryce.
Yeah, a lot of Damian Priest out there, y'all. Yes, we talk about wrestling. What can we say? We have wrestling references on this.
All right, we got a few minutes here. We're gonna wrap it up here. Let's just kind of big pick. I mean, what are you going to remember, Victor, about this postseason and the World Series?
The postseason I will remember as a whole the fact that there are so many great teams in the sport, and any given day, anybody can be beat. Saw what happened with Arizona. The emotion we saw from Caitlin Lowe when he went back to the Women's College World Series. Oregon State, Stanford, an all Pac-12 Super Regional, which was not the all Pac-12 Super Regional we were anticipating. Northwestern making it, winning in Arizona State, and little did we know that would be the last game for Tricia Ford. But in the Women's College World Series, it was all about Oklahoma. It was all about Oklahoma from leading into the season. It was all about Oklahoma with Jocelyn Alice chased to pass Lauren Chamberlain for the home run record. Jordy Ball. And then Oklahoma, fitting that they knock off their Red River rival, who made a miraculous run themselves to get to the championship. Haley Dosini, a salute to you, my queen. You left an impression in 1 year in Austin that will have your name talked about on the 40 acres for years and generations to come. So you have nothing to be ashamed about, my dear. You and that team have a lot to be proud of. Janae Jefferson and the company, y'all gave Texas a lot to be proud of. But at the end of the day, the champions retain their crown and go down in the history books as the most dominant softball team in the sport ever.
Well said. Couple things for the audience asking about transfer portal and all that stuff. Extra inning softball, our friend Justin McLeod has been on with us. He's the guy y'all like you like his southern tone there. He's a hardworking man in this industry. Like, he's just getting going. Like, people are wrapping up right now. He's just getting going. The guy's there's like probably 5 Dr. Peppers right now he's been drinking.
5 or 6.
At the minimum. He's tremendous. He works at extra inning softball. He's going to get all the coaching carousel moves. He's the Woj of college softball. Actually, he's more like Adam Schefter type. He's incredible what he does, but he also does stuff with the transfer portal. So that's your place if you want to see some transfer and coaching moves there. We obviously will be following that at In the Circle. We have Justin on a lot. I have occasionally my own sources I break in there too. So that's the floor for the off season there. As far as the season, what I'll remember, obviously the Wildness Regional, Victor, maybe the most unshocking regional that we've ever seen, with Mississippi State knocking down Florida State, Tennessee losing to Oregon State, Alabama losing to Stanford. How about UCF hosting? You and I were there. We'll never forget that, beating Michigan. Unbelievable. The Supers, Northwestern and Arizona State, in one of the wildest super regionals. Talk about after dark. That was after dark.
After dark.
Won by Northwestern in what turned out to be Tricia Ford's last game as Arizona State head coach. And then the World Series. Don't forget, instant replay in postseason. Had that as a factor. The new format on the schedule. Games on ABC. And obviously, Oklahoma State, Texas. I'm never going to forget that doubleheader, especially that second game. I don't think anybody is. So what an awesome. And then the Oklahoma dominance. Incredible. Some fresh blood and just some iconic performances. I'll never forget Jocelyn Allo now going 5 after like the UCLA with the homer. So I'm just kind of bummed out that's it. That's it for the 2022 college softball season. It goes too fast every year.
It does. We're so excited for it. We're so excited when it comes and it arrives. It is gone just as suddenly as it came. So
that's going to do it here. But first of all, let's thank all the guests that we've had on during the World Series.
Tracy Adams from DePaul, Cindy Balmalone from UCF, Elisa Gola from Western Illinois, Laura Trout from Illinois, Kenzie Fowler from the Pac-12 Network. We were supposed to have her tonight, but had a situation that prevented her from coming on. So thanks to Brittany McKinney for pinch hitting at the last minute.
Pretty good pinch hitter.
Through. Yes, and she came through in the clutch. So we are certainly appreciative of that. Thank you to all of you.
Others in the past, Jenna Becerra, who's been on. Justin McLeod's been on.
Justin McLeod. Andrew Haynes we had on.
Joey Helmer, amazing group. the part of this coverage. Late night post-game champ series, pre-games. I mean, it's been Elisa Goler, Laura Trout.
Yeah, I mentioned them. Yep, we mentioned them already.
Yep, amazing.
We have had record numbers in terms of viewership for our live streams. As of 10:30 yesterday, our episode with Kenzie Fowler after game 1 was the most viewed live stream in the Circle history. Larger than any Selection Sunday show, larger than any of our live streams we did last year when I was in Oklahoma City. That one was the most watched. Please watch that episode. Kenzie drops a lot of knowledge about how Texas should attack Oklahoma in game 2.
This episode might be pretty big too.
This episode might challenge that one definitely.
And by the way, Dark Rocket, Vic will be covering college football. Just follow him on Twitter. He's a man of all hats.
Someone say hats?
Something like that.
That's a tease. Potential tease. We may do something for Athletes Unlimited. We might still do
some live shows because obviously this has been exploded with our numbers. Keep subscribing to our YouTube channel and like us. Subscribe to our podcast. We'll have a regular podcast come out Monday. Yes. Recapping this Oklahoma national title over Texas. And, of course, make sure you check out today's podcast, the Podcast of Champions. You call it, Victor?
Podcast of Champions. D2 national champion Andrea Vaughn from Rogers State. D3 national champion Keith Parr of Christopher Newport. Subscribe and download to those podcasts. Both interviews with the coaches, just under half an hour. So, nice, tidy podcasts. Get you on your way. Get ready for your weekend.
Unbelievable there. And subscribe to our podcast. We'll have content throughout the season, off-season storylines, pro stuff, everything like that. In the Circle SB on Twitter, like us on Facebook, definitely on Twitter as well. We'll have podcasts and everything. Thank you to all of you. I mean, we're late nights, picking up, tuning in, pregame. I know we didn't get to all your questions, but I know you all enjoyed the guests. We're the only show that has people that are in the game, literally. Coaches, analysts, former players, to give you that aspect that nobody else on any other show platform brings like we do here at In the Circle. And y'all make it happen. We're in the mix of our biggest year ever on our podcast.
Yes.
Monster numbers. We're like the Oklahoma of podcasting. We're just exploding right now, like with run ruling the competition. Boom. And you're all a big part of that. And we appreciate your loyalty. We don't take that for granted. Trust me, you guys are all a big part of that. We'll see how that goes. So congrats to all you OU fans. The Sooners are your 2022 national championship team for the ages. For Victor Anderson, I'm Eric Lopez. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of In the Circle.
Free Brittany Griner. Good morning, Canada.